Good evening. This is CTV News for Monday, September 14th. I'm Patricia Valone.
And I'm Gina Barty. Thank you for joining us this evening. A crime that happened more than 2 years ago is back on the minds of some in an Upper Marlboro community as the accused killer goes on trial. Antoine James allegedly shot his stepfather over a dispute having to do with yard work. Denise Douglas has the latest.
Jury selection is underway here in the Antoine James trial. It is a case that still has some in an Upper Marlboro community shaking their heads. You may remember back in April 2013, 46-year-old Joseph Newell asked James, his stepson, for help with yard work. According to investigators, they got into a dispute over the issue, and Newell was screwing in a light bulb in his garage when James allegedly shot him. A neighbor who remembers the tragic incident told us through a cracked door in a very emotional tone what a good person Newell was.
Straightforward, down-to-earth person, detective, really likable person, really likable.
How shocking and how hurtful was it that something like that happened?
It stunned the entire community, I'll say that much. It was a complete... It blew our minds when we heard the news. It just was a big disappointment.
I asked the neighbor for any comments about the trial, and he would only say that he will let justice take its course. Newell, you may remember, was a D.C. police officer and had 6 children. I'm Denise Douglas, CTV News.
The Antoine James trial continues tomorrow.
One person is dead and 2 others have been hospitalized after an accident on Pennsylvania Avenue near Green Landing Road. The crash happened around 2:30 today, according to Fire Department spokesman Mark Brady. Brady also says that the 2 patients taken to the hospital had non-life-threatening injuries. At this point, there's no word as to what caused the accident. Meantime, traffic has been backed up on Route 50 in the Landover area this afternoon. Now, firefighters battling a brush fire had to close down the westbound lanes of 50 near Route 202. Motorists are asked to avoid the area. Well, when Prince George's County Council passed the fiscal year 2016 budget, it called for the creation of a committee to address the county's structural deficit.
Today was the commission's first meeting. Byron Scott was there. He joins us now with more. Byron?
Well, this all came about after the big budget battle between the county executive and the county council. Well, the commission was formed by a resolution and given the task of addressing ongoing fiscal issues. A structural deficit is an imbalance that's caused when normal government spending exceeds tax revenues on an annual basis. Now, there can be many reasons for that, and the commission's job is to learn the causes and to figure out how best to mitigate it. Today was just the first meeting, so a lot of time was spent looking at the budget process and how it works. Over the next several months, about a year, the commission will meet to go deeper into the issues.
Looking at sort of regional sort of opportunities, what other counties and jurisdictions around the country have done to solve their problems, and also to make some of the harder sort of initial inquiries as to possible ways of solving it. So looking at revenues and things of that nature. So, we're hoping that over the next, year that we're going to be able to, look at the problem, understand it, because unlike the county staff, we're not daily immersed in this information. So we're going to first figure out what the problem is, and then we're going to look to, making some recommendations on how to solve it.
And the commission will hold 3 public hearings in the county. The dates have not yet been set. A final report with recommendations is due June of 2016.
So, Byron, how big of an issue is this?
Well, it's a big issue, and the numbers can vary, but we're talking about an annual deficit somewhere between at least in the tens of millions of dollars. And that can, like next year, for example, they suspect maybe $60 million, but it depends. What they want to try and do is look at all these different factors, and if they can, bring that down to 0.
All right. Thank you, Byron. Well, you can expect to see large crowds and traffic detours as the Pope comes to town next week on a 3-day visit to Washington, D.C. CTV's Sonia Srivastava is at the LARGO Metro Station with some tips.
Well, thousands of people use Metro every day to go back and forth to work or school, and you add the Pope's visit to that, and that is certainly going to cause some problems, and that's why Metro is offering some tips for passengers. Now, the first thing that they say is use your smart card and buy your fares in advance. The single best advice to ensure that everyone riding during that visit can do.
I mean, they're cautioning us about like avoiding using the trains, like, you know, maybe drive up there or take a bus or something, you know, just to prevent being late.
These are your teachers who are telling you to do that?
Yes, ma'am.
Some station entrances may be temporarily closed based on security needs. Trains and stations near papal events may experience heavy crowds. Now, many Metro bus routes near the events and the parade route will be detoured or shortened. Now, if you do have plans to travel in a large group, Metro is certainly advising you to have those fare cards on hand, because you will see long lines as you are headed to the trains, and make it easy on yourself by having those smart cards. Now, they're expecting about 25,000 guests that'll be coming to the Mass at the Basilica on Wednesday afternoon, and a lot of those folks will be using the Brooklyn station, and that will be designated as an exit-only station prior to the event and entry-only following the event. Now, due to capacity issues at Brookland, riders may wish to consider using two adjacent stations, the Rhode Island Avenue and Fort Totten. Now, Rhode Island is about a mile away from Brookland, and Fort Totten is about 2 miles. Now, both days that the Pope will be here, Metro here tells us that they are going to be opening their stations at 5 a.m. In Largo, I'm Sonia Srivastava. Back to you.
And customers are being discouraged from bringing large coolers or other bulky items aboard trains. And you are watching CTV News. I'm Patricia Vallone.
And I'm Gina Bartiz.